So I've got a specific statement here for us to look at, and it's a very practical thing, right? Um, you're home by midnight, or you have to check in every hour. So you see, first there are two individual statements. This one is P, and this one is Q, and they're connected by this logical OR. And what I want to do is, just as a practical matter, I want to know, when does this come out to a true statement? Where you kind of think of true as being a good outcome, right? A true result is you did everything you were supposed to, you get to go out tomorrow night, right? So first, I'm going to organize all of this into a table, right? You see, take a look at what I've done here. On the left-hand side, I have a list of the variables. We've got two variables in our statement. Each one gets its own column. Then what I've done over here on the right side is this is just the logical statement itself. And the way I've organized this is I've given every element of the statement its own column. Right? The P got a column, the Q got a column, the OR got a column. Okay, so here's how I'm going to go about evaluating this. What I want to do is, first, remember these logical statements, the P and the Q, they can have only two possible values. This is part of our definition of a statement. Each one of these parts is either true or false. Got to be one or the other. So what I want to do here is I want to think through the results of this OR statement for all of the possibilities, right? All of the possible things I could do here, right? So for example, one option is I come home by midnight and I check in every hour, right? That would be two trues. I could be home by midnight and not check in every hour. That would be true and false. If I'm not home by midnight, that would be false. And I do check in. And last possibility, I do neither thing. Okay, so this is step number one. Once I've got the table, step number one is just to fill in all those possible combinations. Be methodical about it. All right? Technically, you can put, as long as you get all four possibilities, technically they can go in any order you want. Please do them in this order. Okay, this is the standard order that these things are done. It's the order that I will always do them in. It's the order that I would expect them to be done in. Your instructor will expect them to be done in. If you do them in some other order, it just made evaluating your work like 5 times difficult. Because now I have to, okay, in this row he did T and F, so now go over to my answer key, find the T, F, instead of just running down the rows real quick. All right, so please try to remember to do them in this order. All right, now step number 2, I'm just going to copy stuff over. I'm going to copy the P values into the P column. And I'm going to copy the Q values into the Q column. Now, to see where we end up, right, with my final result, right, my final result is going to go in this column in the middle. Think about the outcomes. Right? Think about what you did. Think about what your parent's response is going to be, or what your response as a parent is going to be. You said be home by midnight or check in every hour. In this first row, both of those got done. You did both things. Awesome. That gets you a positive response, so I'm going to put a true here. Now think about the next one. You were home by midnight, but you did not check in every hour. That's still okay. Right? That still gets a true because you were told to do one or the other. You did one, you're still all right. Let's think about the third case. This is really case number 2, but in reverse. Right? You weren't home by midnight, but you did check in. That's okay. Okay, now how about the last one? You were not home by midnight and you did not check in. This is the bad case. This is the case with a negative outcome. You're not going out tomorrow night. So I'm going to put a false there. Okay, and now we're done. This is the truth table for an OR statement. Now there's going to be technically 5. It's really more like 4 of these tables. And what we're going to do is to do more complicated statements, we're going to rely on the table we've got here for OR. We're going to do one for AND. We've got a couple more connectives we're going to talk about in the next section. You really need to know these, right? You really need to know these. What I would do, I'm a big fan of flashcards. Okay, not for flipping through and forcibly memorizing. What I would do is I would write this truth table on a flashcard, on an index card. Have it in front of you when you're studying, when you're practicing. Right? I would do the same thing with the AND that we're going to talk about on the next slide. Right? Have these cards in front of you as a reference. Over time, I think you'll find that the more you practice, right, the more practice you get in, the less you're going to need the cards. Until eventually, right over usually a very short period of time, you'll find that you really don't need them at all, and you can just kind of knock these things out. All right, so let's try the next one. I'm going to use the same variables, right? P is going to be your home by midnight. Q is going to be you check in every hour. And this time, instead of an OR, I have an AND. All right, so I want to walk through the same process here. Again, I've got a list of the variables on the left side. I've got the statement I'm trying to evaluate on the right side. I'm going to approach this the exact same way. Right, I'm going to start by writing out all the possible combinations of P and Q. And if you look back at your notes, hopefully you're taking some notes here, I followed the exact same pattern I did last time. Then I'm going to copy these over. The P's go into here, and the Q's go into here. And I'm going to do the AND. I'm going to do the same thing, talking my way through what the outcomes are for each of the combinations. Okay, so this time you were told to do both things. Be home by midnight and check in every hour. So again, on the first row, right, you did both. Right? That's a good outcome. That's going to be true. Now on the second one, you only did one. You were home by midnight, which is awesome, but you did not check in every hour like you were supposed to. This one is going to be a false. That's a negative outcome. Third row is the same, right? You did good on one, not so good on the other. This one is also going to be false. And the fourth one, okay, this is worst case scenario. You didn't do either of them. So this one is also going to be false. So there is our AND truth table. Again, this is one I would put on a little index card, have it in front of me when I'm studying. So we've got one last one to talk about here. Right, what does the truth table for a negation look like? Well, first, it looks simpler. Yep, there's only one variable here, P versus not P. So I only need 2 rows because there are only 2 possibilities, true and false. All right, so what does the negation do? It just reverses. Right? It just reverses the value of the statement. So a true statement becomes false and a false statement becomes true. Now, really following my previous pattern, I could have done this in 2 columns. Right, I could have put the not in one column and the P in another. I usually don't. If I had just not and a variable, not P, not Q, that's so quick to do. I usually just give it its own variable, and during the copying over phase, right, kind of that step 2 phase, I just go ahead and automatically reverse it, right, because it's such an easy thing to do. Okay, so what's next? Now we have 3 kind of basic or core truth tables. And in the next lecture, what we're going to do is we're going to look at some bigger statements, right? And we're going to see how we can use these 3 kind of core statements to evaluate something larger.